Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Apparel Sourcing Expo, to the conference of the Global Apparel Sourcing Expo. My name is Matthijs Grite. I am Secretary General of the International Apparel Federation, the IAF, that is organizing this expo together with its partners, ForSource and Sourcing Journal. We are glad to offer you, in addition and alongside the Expo, a conference focusing on a number of important topics that are shaping our industry. Every week of the Expo, which lasts 4 weeks, we address a different topic with top speakers from around the world. Right now, we are addressing the huge topic of digitization, and I'm really glad to have with us Azfar Hasan, the founder of Lulusar. Lulusar, an on-demand online brand from Pakistan. And now you're probably curious to learn what exactly that means and what we can learn from Lulusar and from Mr. Hasan about successful digitization in the industry. So it's my pleasure to give the word to Azfar Hasan.
Thank you, Matthijs, for that introduction. Yeah, we are an on-demand and online brand. We started the journey about 3-4 years ago. Perhaps it would be better if I open a slide deck and I can introduce the company through that.
Please go ahead.
That'd be all right. Okay. So my own background is basically, we are a sourcing organization. At first, we started our business about 30 years ago. We've been sourcing for major brands and retailers in one of our organizations. And then I formed another company about 7 years ago, which is heavily into software development for the supply chain. Then 4 years ago, we set up Lulusar. And since then, I think the focus had to be, from all our experience, we put all our eggs into technology and digitization. So we wanted it to be a brand that's heavily dependent on new technologies and future technologies. So when Gorike asked me to put a topic together, I thought that we could share some of the knowledge we have on how we're using that digital technology to come up with our collections and developments. And that's the topic for today. So I also wanted to give you a little bit of an idea about the brand. It puts out many collections a year. Last year, we developed about 1,000 styles. We've been growing 3x year on year. So it's in a very high growth mode. We depend on our e-commerce platform. And, for that reason, and generally, like one of our core principles is to make sure that, we generate a lot of loyalty from our customers and we make them happy. And the basic mantra for the brand is on trend, on demand, and online. So we are an on-demand brand, which means that we've got a microfactory behind us. So we don't produce an inventory and then sell it. We sell and then produce the product. So we carry virtually no inventory. And that's how the business is run. So the name Lulusar itself is coming from, our northern area. It's beautiful up north. There are high mountains and lakes. And Lulusar is the name of one of the lakes up there. And, we chose it because of the serenity and the minimalism out there, just the love of nature that a lot of us have. So we wanted to keep those values in the brand, and that's how we came up with the name. We also wanted to belong to our roots, anchor it in our country. So basically that's where we came up with the name. On demand means that we have 12 to 16 collections a year and more than 50 launches every year. So every week we're putting new product in our store. And on demand means that our lead time from order to delivery exit factory is 3 days in our microfactory. And our design cycle works in 20 days from developing a concept to install, because it's completely digital. We don't have to prototype physical samples. It's done on computers and through software. And basically, we've also got some concept stores, which are used for connecting with the customer and the consumers, where they can come and touch feel the product. And we do keep some bestsellers that they can pick off the shelf. So it's also to try out the product, get the right fit, get the right size, etc. But ultimately, they're to connect with the consumer. We also launched another brand, which is a sub-brand called Koyo, which is the athleisure side of Lulusar. And again, here we have multiple collections, and again, 50 launches a year. And here we've got 4 days from order to exit for delivery. It's also completely digitized, just like Lulusar. So yeah, so Lulusar is a brand which is made on demand, which means that we've got a micro factory behind it, and we produce and ship in 3 days. So when we get an order, we produce to a batch size 1. We've got no MOQ at all, and we will ship in 3 days once the order comes out of the factory. Because of the microfactory. And that's a unique position Lulusar has. So we've got complete verticalization from concept all the way to the consumer. We do have 50 launches a year. So every week we're launching a collection almost. And that keeps the store very exciting and interesting for people to come and visit the e-commerce site as well as our stores. We also have a sub-brand called Koyo. Koyo is the athleisure side of Lulusar, fitness side, and we also produce multiple collections there for our consumers. And Koyo has been named after a mountain up in the north as well. So very similar methods for working and for business, and we've got quite a following there as well. These are some of the digital partners that we use for product development and for putting the collection together. Some of the tools we have, some of the softwares from WGSN for forecasting, and we use Coloro and Color Desk, and CAD On for color management, Visu for surface scanning, Clo and Tukatek for 3D virtualization and 2D pattern making. WGSN, we're all familiar with. It's the premium service for trend forecasting. So basically the designers work with this. And I just want to mention that it takes us 20 days from concept to market. So when we launch a collection, we start with the concepts just 20 days before we launch. So we're very, very close to market. And that's where our strength is, that we're so close to market, we're on trend. And like I said, on trend, on demand, and online. These are the 3 things that Lulusar stands for. And on trend means that 20 days lead time for concept to market gives us a huge edge. From WGSN, we come up with the digital storyboards, which everybody works with. And these end up in collections. So we also have a lot of emphasis on prints, and we do our own print development. So every collection has its set of prints as well. And that's where designers keep coming together. Of course, color has a big role to play. And this is where the color digital is big with Lulusar, and Coloro helps us get those colors digitally. So here we have, we do have their books, but at the same time, we're using Coloro for digital color libraries and for forecasts that, the designers have toolboxes also where they can work, toolkits and workspaces where they use Coloro for development and balancing the colors. As far as material scanning is concerned, we use Visu. It's one of the best scanners in the market. And along with Visu is a software that comes with it. So we can simulate new fabrics from existing ones by changing yarns, weaves, or machine settings. So we can then go back and purchase those fabrics depending on what the utility of the fabric is with the particular product or collection. And here is CAD On. We use CAD On for color management and print management. So we use it for extracting and scanning color, and we can also view it we have the Can View screen, which is used for, so we can check digitally the colors, but also there is direct calibration between CAD On and our printing machines. So, what you see on the screen is what you get on the output is also what you see in the swatch books of Koloro. Again, we also use Color Desk for color management, where we keep libraries of references and also give approvals. So things like, under multiple light conditions, give approvals for production colors compared to the actuals or references. So this is the Color Desk system. And what this means is that we have virtually zero wait time on color decisions and color approvals, and it's all cataloged digitally instead of in files or behind box files, etc. From here, we move on to using those colors and draping them around avatars using Flow 3D. Basically, it gives us the ability to do very fast and cost-efficient simulations. The rendering is super nice, and we do our fit checks on it. We can create custom avatars. We've got multiple avatars for different body types. So basically, we can also add detailing like sewing and tacking, and the designers love working on this. And our entire collections are made on Flow. We also have Tukatek, and Tukatek is used for transforming the prints and putting them on markers, which are ready for printing and for manufacturing. So basically, we'll create these markers along complete lengths of fabrics, and it could be multiple styles squeezed into the same job. And that's where it helps us produce the batch-sized one. So it's a mix and match, and we get very high efficiencies using Tukatek's marker making algorithms. And we also are very happy with Tukatek's 2D capabilities to create excellent patterns for us. This is an example of how, what we developed in Flow, for example, the simulation that we do in 3D, virtual versus actual. So here's on the right side is a model wearing the dress that we produced, and on the left is the simulation coming from Flow. So you can see that the virtual is very close to real. And what this does is it saves us the time for developing, redeveloping samples that designers have to, and developers have to approve and go to the sewing room and get it done. We do it all in 3D, get it approved, and then throw it straight into production. Saves us an enormous amount of time and resources. We don't have to throw any fabric. The fabrics are all scanned. So the drape and handling is all done through our digital fabric scanning stations. Again, another example of virtual versus actual. So the dress was designed on the left using Flow, and you can see that the simulation versus the actual live product in the model. We also use virtualization in our photo shoots. We've got our own photo studio, and we develop our own content and manage our own social media. So there's tons of images that we have to take, and this is a simulation software that we use for generating images for photo shoots. It tells us what light conditions, how to apply light, what results we will get on what type of product. So basically, we use a lot of digital simulation in our photo studio as well. Here's an example of how it was used for a real life shoot. So you can see, oops, let me go back. Yeah, you can see that this was the techniques used by the photographer to check how he needs to set the studio up for this shoot, and ended up collecting these photographs from it. In the end, I just want to conclude by showing you a video of how we covering the entire design process and development process. That's our office. That's the Coloro physical book, but the same colors are available digitally as well of the digital libraries. They have 1.2 million colors mapped and 3,500 colors in the books. This is their digital sort of workspace where we can develop those. So that's our fabric toolkit, where we will develop, where we will scan for fabric behavior and fabric structure. And this helps us load it onto our virtual simulation as well. So the fabric replicates real life behavior of the fabric in our digital closet. This is all an effort to digitize the materials and the fabrics. That's our scanner, the fabric scanner. It will scan the surface, and then you can also simulate it in new colors, etc. You can change the dynamics of the colors, so you know exactly what will look good without having to go through the hassle of producing that fabric. And finally, like, this is our Flow 3D, where the patterns are stitched together and then used in the photo shoot. We also do a lot of analytics, which gives us feedback on what's selling, what's not, what consumers like. So that's the advantage of having a vertical brand. That's our micro factory, where we will then print. And as you can see, Tukatek does a great job of putting this on a marker, which is ready for production. It's a seamless operation. Every piece is laser cut. And yeah, that's 3 days, like I said, from order to exit factory.
Wow.
Yeah.
Azfar, that's amazing. I have to say I'm mesmerized by this process, and what sticks in people's mind also, I think, is when you show the virtual versus the real life, especially on my computer screen. I can't really see the difference. So and all of the costs that you are able to take out, not in the least, the biggest cost of all, making all kinds of stuff that nobody's going to buy, or only against the big discount, because you do it on demand. That I think that is one of the keys of this success of this, right?
Absolutely. I think, not only for that, we can create virtual collections and run them by our consumers. And since we're digital, we get a lot of real feedback. When you're a physical store, somebody might just walk in, glance through the product, but you don't know whether that's going to sell or not. But when you launch it digitally on a social media site, Insta or Facebook or whatever, you get a lot of analytics on, how people are reacting to that product. Yeah. So without making the product, we can actually get a lot of feedback on our social media pages. So we're on point also in our collections that we're launching, the ones that, and that connection between the designers, developers, and the consumers, it's real. And it's in real time almost. So basically that works to our advantage, because nobody has that kind of speed from, concept to market like we do.
I can see. And one question that I had, I saw some answers to it. One of the restrictions that you have in being fast is the availability of fabrics, right? So I can see you have a lot of, I suppose that you have a lot of digital printing, and of course in knitwear you have more flexibility. But is there any kind of having to keep stocks also in certain fabrics, or having to take positions in fabrics, or have you been able to phase that out?
Yeah, that's one of the limitations of the type of business model we're in. We have to keep stock fabrics. These are like papers in your printer. So you'll have a light paper, a heavy print paper, but these have to be very versatile. So what we do is we make up for that through our, cuts, silhouettes, and colors and prints, and the way the designers work around that. So it's going back to your design team and saying, these are the constraints under which you have to work. We're also running a line, like the printing we're doing that you saw was sublimation, but we've also got a range for cotton. Cotton takes a little longer because the process is longer. It's reactive dyeing than the pre-process, post-process, so it'll take a little longer. We have a longer lead time by a couple of days for cotton products. What we are also trying to do is to generate and looking out for technology, which I'm sure will develop soon. We want to avoid the dyeing process completely. So instead of carrying solid colors, if we could print both sides of the fabric simultaneously, then we don't need to dye the fabric. And we're looking out for that technology, which sooner or later will come by, where it doesn't need to go in a dyeing machine. You just select the color, and the colors are calibrated exactly like you saw on the book, on the screen, and on the printer. So there is no need to review it. You just push a button, and that's exactly what the designers imagined it to be. So if we can print both sides, then it's the same effect as a completely piece-dyed product or fabric. And we're trying to, we're waiting for that to evolve as well.
That's amazing. Well, already you're showing that all of this can be done, right? It can be done.
It's being done, and we're happy doing it.
It's being done, and it's growing, and you're also exporting this, right? So Lulusar is growing in several countries.
Yeah, so we have a global market. So 10% of our sales right now are global, and they're growing. Just before the COVID pandemic, we were doing 3x growth year on year. We're happy right now where we are, but as soon as things settle down, we're looking at expanding our business to launch. We've heard a lot of positive feedback from other countries, but the model is basically, it's like a chameleon. You're not designing purely a brand that the designers want. Half of that is feedback coming from the markets, and the way the market segmentation can be done, you can launch it tomorrow in, say, Malaysia, and you would get feedback from Malaysian customers as to what they like. So the cuts, the silhouettes, the colors all start to mold themselves to the market. And that's where, it kind of has, we try and maintain that balance between our own identity as Lulusar, because it stands for that minimalism and a certain, preference for colors or, cuts, etc. But at the same time, we're listening very keenly to what the consumers want and what they're about. So, it's all about maintaining that balance.
Yeah. The fashion industry is all about the balance. I really like that. But you put a little bit more of the economics, that it makes economic sense really into the balance, and I think that's often lost by now in the more or less old-fashioned processes, which are hurting the industry.
The big advantage is, like I said, we have no inventory for finished goods, so we have no wastages. Number one. Number two, we're looking for what's selling, so we'll kind of like step up production and stuff that we're getting good feedback on. And we won't produce anything that's not going to sell. So I think the next collection becomes even better. So it's organically, like you start from a starting point, but you start to mold and shift the brand towards what people really want and what they like. The other thing is that we're also educating our consumers on what the trends are, and that's where the connect with the trend forecasting. We're anchored into those as well. So we're providing a service to the consumer that here's our toolbox, tell us what you want, give us your feedback, and our designers will design better stuff for you that fits better and is on trend.
Well, I'm still mesmerized. I think the listeners are too. This is really good. I'm quite sure more of our fashion industry is going to start looking like this. Yeah, good for you that you have a head start there. So I wish you and Lulusar and the entire team all the best with further developments and growth. And
Thank
thank
you
you so
so much.
much for sharing this.
Thank you. All right.